Hey everybody, Notorious here. Welcome back to my channel. In this episode, we're going to discuss the anchor hitch and its slipped form, the slipped anchor hitch. Here, if you take a look here, this is the slipped anchor hitch, and it is a quick release method for tying the anchor hitch. So, without further ado, let's get right to it. Alright, so first things first. Before we get into the slip form, let's talk about the anchor hitch. In order to tie an anchor hitch, it's very simple. This is one of the easiest methods for connecting a piece of cordage or a rope to a piece of hardware, like a ring or a carabiner, and it is considered life support. It is a termination knot. And basically the way it works is if you are a tree climber like myself, and let's say you have a lanyard or something and you don't have a spliced or sewn end, or eye rather, what you can do is use an anchor hitch instead. But before we go down that rabbit hole, it is important to understand that if you are looking for a termination knot to use on a lanyard or any sort of life support anything, the ideal knot, in my personal opinion, and it's not just my opinion, is the poacher's loop, also known as the double fisherman's loop. The poacher's loop is better than the anchor hitch, and so, yeah. Anyways, to tie the anchor hitch, all you do is you go through the object you want to secure it to, okay? And then you go through one more time, and it's a good idea at this point to stick one of your fingers through like this, and then you bring the working end over the standing end and through the loops. Alrighty? Like that. So it'll look like this. And then all you need to do is cinch that puppy down, and you have an anchor hitch. Easy, right? This is hands down, again, in my opinion, probably one of, if not the easiest knot that you can learn. And what's great about it is that it's super, super strong, okay? This is not gonna budge, all right? But if you, and this is why the poacher's loop is superior, because this is prone to sort of, over time, as you're climbing around, loosening, and you can see that if I do this enough times, the tail is gonna start feeding through eventually, and that's not good. But you can see I'm doing this several times and it's really not moving a whole lot. But if I keep doing this, then this is gonna eventually come on, do it. There we go. It'll eventually come loose. But that doesn't happen with the poacher's loop. So that's why if you're looking for a termination knot, something, on a lanyard or a piece of rope, anything where you need a secure connection between rope and hardware, use the poacher's loop. Do not use the anchor hitch unless there are benefits to the anchor hitch. And let me explain to you what that is. One of the main benefits is that it distributes the load evenly between two strands of rope versus just one. Okay, so you can see here, that I'm tying the anchor hitch, and it will distribute the load evenly between these two strands. That's pretty bomber, right? So unfortunately, while that's really dandy, up here you still only have one strand. So it doesn't make it twice as strong. It just, helps distribute the load more evenly. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind. If you do use an anchor hitch, I highly recommend one of two things. First of all, and this is the lesser of two options, if you tie an anchor hitch, you should always back it up with at least one half hitch. And this is what a half hitch looks like, all right? You take the rope, put it around the standing end, and lock it down like that. And that, as you can see, produces a much more secure version of the anchor hitch. But the better way to secure, if you want to have the benefit of having the load evenly distributed between two strands, and you want the security of a poacher's loop, let me show you what a poacher's loop looks like. And I go into a lot more depth in the episode that I made about it, but you bring it over, and then you cross it over, make a little Jesus fish, and then you bring it around like that over itself. So now you sort of have a open figure eight in a sense, and then you bring it around one more time, and then through the opening here, and pull that nice and tight. And now you have the poacher's loop. So you can see immediately why this is much more secure and preferable to the anchor hitch. All right. So the more you know. But as I was saying, if you want to have the benefit of a anchor hitch, but the benefit of an anchor hitch distributing the load evenly between two strands, but also the security of a poacher's loop, you can use a knot that I unofficially created. I don't know if I created it because I didn't create either of the knots. I didn't create the poacher's loop. I didn't create the anchor hitch, but I did, or I am trying to popularize. I've never really seen other people doing this. I'm popularizing or trying to popularize with this video, and I've already, if you look in my library, I've done this before. So I did this almost a year and a half ago. What you do is you tie the anchor hitch, all right? Make sure you have a lot more slack on the working end than you did before, and you tie an anchor hitch. I did the wrong orientation. It's going to be confusing because I did the other orientation before. So you have more slack, and you go through and you tie an anchor hitch, right? And once you tie the anchor hitch, then above it, you tie a poacher's loop. All right, so here we go. Sort of a Jesus fish. And then you go around and tie that poacher's, struggling here. Not much of an end to work with, sorry. Bring that through. All right, so now we've got an anchor hitch with a poacher's loop above it. Look at that. That's pretty bomber, right? That just emanates strength. And what you can do is you can just kind of work with it and cinch it down. And there you go. Now you have, I don't know what to call this. If anyone has any suggestions in the comments section for a name for this hitch, this termination knot, it's, pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to toot my own horn again, but I think it's pretty awesome. I think I'm pretty awesome. Uh-oh, getting out of control here. But yeah, this is definitely an option if you want to evenly distribute between two strands and have a backup that, there is, look at this. I could cyclically load this for like a year and it's just not going to budge, all right? But you saw the anchor hitch. It just only took a matter of seconds. In a real climb, obviously, it would take a matter of hours if you're not paying attention. But I mean, there are no guarantees. It could happen the first time you do it if you're really not tying and dressing and setting properly. But here, this is not going to budge. So let's move on to one of the most important ways that I think you can use the anchor hitch. Oh, I'm sorry. First, let me show you how to tie the slipped anchor hitch. To tie the slipped anchor hitch, you bring this through and you tie basically like you would with an anchor hitch, but give yourself a little more tail. And now you're going to go over, cross this over the standing end again, and put your fingers through like you would. So everything's the same so far, except now you grab a bite of rope. And you take that bite and you put it in the opening. And now you have a slipped anchor hitch. And what's great about this is all you need to do to untie it is pull this working end here. I guess you would call it a tail. And ba-ba, look at that. Pretty cool, right? So how can we use this as tree climbers? Or, I mean, there's so many ways you can use it. But since this is 50% a tree climbing channel, let me show you the number one way that you can use the slipped anchor hitch. Anyone know what this is? You guessed it. It's a throw weight, sometimes also known as a throw ball, even though it's more like a throw ellipsy. Ellipsy? I don't know, don't judge me. So what we can do with this is when we go to install a line into a tree, instead of using something that's going to be a pain, a PITA, to get off our throw weight every time we go to disconnect the weight. And I don't know about you, but that can be pretty annoying if you're working with a really thin throw line. So here is a Dyneema throw line that I use when I set my lines in a tree. And this is going to change your life if you don't already do it. All right, bring it through the top. And we're creating just an anchor hitch, just like we did a million times already. Let's put our finger here and then cross this over and then create a bite. Put the bite through the opening and then just cinch it down. And there you have it. This is going to be very secure. Okay? I promise you. Don't worry about it. This is super bomber, and it's quick, easy way to attach a throw line to a throw weight. And once you're ready to disconnect the weight and attach your line to it, or some people like to attach their line with the throw weight on. I'm not that guy. I don't do that. But a lot of people like that. I just see that as another way of getting stuck, but I digress. Once you want to take your throw weight off, and sometimes once this has been tossed around a few times, you know, it can sort of get tight sometimes, but don't worry. Just all you have to do is hold on to this, and pull this as hard as you can, and it will come out. See, it's there. You hear that snap? It came right off. All right. This has been my episode on the anchor hitch and slipped anchor hitch, and loosely about the poacher's loop. check that video out if you haven't already. Again, the link is in the description. Please, please, please support my channel by subscribing and select the all selection for your type of subscription. That way you can be alerted as soon as a new video drops. And as you know, be sure to check out my channel for more hitch how-tos, knot tutorials, and climbing videos. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.